Number 34.
Oh yes, yeah. Thanks, Deputy Broughan, for raising this. The strategy to combat energy, published in 2016, sets out the actions that will be taken between 2016 and 2019 to alleviate the burden of energy poverty on the most vulnerable in society. The strategy focuses on a small number of high-impact actions that will make a real difference to the lives of those in energy poverty. In 2019, my department will undertake a public consultation to review the strategy. This consultation will review the progress made in understanding energy poverty in Ireland, allow for a broader debate on whether general policy direction is reducing levels of energy poverty and whether new approaches are required. The Better Energy Warmer Home Scheme, which is administered by the SEAI, is the Government's main scheme in addressing energy poverty. It delivers a range of energy efficiency measures free of charge to low-income households, allowing them to adequately heat their homes and make them less vulnerable to increases in energy costs and decreases in income. To date, nearly 125,000 low-income households have received a free energy efficiency upgrade under the scheme. The Better Energy Warmer Homes will continue in 2018, and I intend to continue working with the Department of Employment Affairs and Social Protection to ensure eligibility for the scheme is consistent with their income support schemes. If data on social inclusion demonstrates that particular groups are vulnerable to deprivation, amendment of the scheme will be examined to ensure that these groups receive support. This is already done in 2016, when the eligibility for the Better Energy Warmer Homes was extended to lone parent families, in line with guidance gathered under the Survey on Income and Living Conditions, which suggested that basic deprivation is particularly acute for lone parent families. In 2016, my department launched the Warmth and Wellbeing Pilot Scheme in partnership with the Department of Health, the HSE and the SEAI. It is accepted that housing is a social determinant of health, and as such a cold, damp house can be a contributory factor to poor health and well-being for residents. The scheme will measure the impact that an energy efficiency upgrade can have on the health and well-being of people living with chronic respiratory conditions and build an evidence base for expansion. This scheme will continue in 2018, and I expect to allocate at least €20 million in funding to this pilot by the end of 2018 to provide for an upgrade of at least 1,500 homes.
The remainder will be included in the official report, so an opportunity for Deputy Broughan.
Thanks for your kindness and allowing a few extra minutes. Just as a Minister, first of all, in relation to the actions that you're taking, and thanks for the reply, have you set up the independently chaired the Energy Poverty Advisory Group, which I think you promised us as part of the strategy? You're very aware, I think, what a huge problem this is. I think all deputies are estimated 400,000 households live with some kind of energy poverty, and Age Action says perhaps 2,000 of our senior citizens die each year in energy poverty, related illnesses to illnesses that are brought on by energy poverty. You mentioned the Warmth and Wellbeing Energy Efficiency Programme. I welcome that. I asked you, in fact, if it's possible to extend that. I know some of the colleagues on the south side of Dublin, the pilot scheme, I think, was in action there, but Dublin 3, 5, 17, 9 and 13, the postal areas on the north side, DBN that I represent, when do you intend to extend that programme up to us? Also, I think you mentioned the SEAI and the work they do, but through the Warmer Homes initiative. But you promised also, I think, at the beginning of summer, that there would be free upgrades, and you report, I think, 120,000 homes had gone to the Better Energy Warmer Home Scheme. So was there more action on that? And just the last point then, in relation to the Horizon 2020 EU programme, I think that was part funding, or the background to your promoting and financing energy efficiency in Ireland in the UK event, which took place, I think, earlier this year in Dublin. Just wondered what was the outcomes of that, and are you in a position to, if you like, secure further EU funding to tackle this very real problem? It's a huge European problem, as you know as well, Minister. 54 million people are affected in the European Union by energy poverty. Thanks, Canon.
It is. In fact, I spoke at the International Energy Agency in Paris before the summer, and I talked about the pilot Warmth and Wellbeing Scheme. and it took me half an hour to get down through the auditorium afterwards with a number of ministers that were coming up to me from right across the globe in relation to this. In relation to the Warmer Home Scheme for 2017, up to the end of August, 4,515 homes have received an energy efficiency upgrade under the scheme, with a capital expenditure of £11.5 million. By the end of the year, we expect to spend £21.2 million in providing upgrades in relation to that. In relation to the expansion of the Warmer Home Scheme, it's a question I ask myself. Because I think there's a small bit of ground west of the River Shannon. It'd be nice to see it in as well. I think it's a phenomenal scheme. I think it needs to be significantly ramped up right across this country. The decision in relation to locations were decided by the HSE, not by our department, sadly, because I would have a few locations that I would like to consider. But the intention is, based on the empirical evidence which will start coming through from the end of this year, that it gives us the case to expand this, not just to other parts of Dublin, but across the country.
Thanks, Minister.